Hi everybody, thanks for watching Access Hockey MI. A little bit different setup today, don't know if you can tell. But we're on different chairs.
We got shorter.
I have a computer in front of me, so if you see me looking down and scrolling something, it's because we have so many notes from the Prospects Tournament that we just got done with in Traverse City.
We were studying hard for you guys.
Buckle your seatbelts, because it's going to be a crazy long ride into a town I don't know. In a car I don't know. We're driving.
I love the metaphor. It's exciting.
It sounded better in my head. But today we're going to talk a lot about the Prospects Tournament, a lot about the prospects, a lot about guys who have been coming through the system. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of good stuff in Traverse City. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So overall opinion of the tournament, we'll just start there.
Overall opinion, it was very different this year, and we went and talked about that in previous videos, so go back and watch those. But it was awesome. It was good to be back. I thought the crowd was fantastic. There was a really good turnout for everybody, so it was really nice to see, I think, generating that revenue. But there's obviously a lot of interest in the future of these teams, so it was really cool to see that and just the energy. And the guys, you could tell that it really impacted them, too. I didn't know what to expect for this year, considering last season, like how packed it would be. But the Red Wings games, as always, were packed. Like, you don't leave your seat. You don't leave it for intermission. Nope. You stay there for an hour and a half before the game starts, because if you don't... literally, like, touching people.
It was standing room only for some people, not us, because we got there like 2 hours early.
As
every
always.
Day. We're always like, should we leave? And they're like, no, we're not leaving, because someone's going to take our spot.
I think my lips were purple by the time we left.
Well, and we weren't even there for as long as we normally are, but needless to say, the hockey is always so great at the Prospects Tournament. We got to see the guys that we've been waiting for, even some of the newer draftees like Cross Hanas and Oscar Plandowski. So we're going to start with Oscar Plandowski, and why don't you kick it off?
So he was one that I was actually, I didn't know too much about. I don't think you did either. And when he was drafted,
it's hard to, because we didn't see, he was drafted later.
Yeah, the later rounds, a lot of times you don't have a lot of video or information on it. So he was kind of a tricky one. I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. I was very impressed. I thought he was everywhere. I think he had a really good showing. He was pretty aggressive on the offensive end, too. Not in the sense of, like, really chippy or physical, but he would really go after the puck, and he didn't seem to slow back or, pump the brakes or anything. Yeah. I was really excited. He seemed like he was playing with the same excitement.
And he is a defenseman. So to me, that is just a great thing to see anyway, when a defenseman can be offensively aggressive as well too. So
almost like leader rush.
He was trying to make a difference, and he was getting some playtime, a lot of playtime, I think, in the first game that we saw him in. And it really depends, because this year they play 3 games, so it depends on who's playing. They don't always all play the same games. So like the goaltenders, we saw them 1 a game is basically what we saw. So
they're back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Too.
So for Oscar, we're really probably going to see. He's already been told. We've been told that he's going to be major junior club. So he will need, and he does need time. He was again drafted 2021. Not too hard to believe that he would have to go back to major junior. Yeah. He'll grow a lot there, and I am very excited to see
what we saw. It's a reason to be excited.
For sure.
He could make a really good push, even being a later pick.
Yeah, and so my favorite probably had to have been Cross Hanas, and he was a super opportunistic. He was probably the one that I was like, oh my lands, this kid is great. Yeah. And he really was. He was, to me, he seemed like the brass and the coaching staff, because Ben Simon was the coach for all the games for the Red Wings. So he is
team, the Griffins head coach.
Right, so he was... To me, it seemed like the minutes he was playing, he was on power play, he was on PK. They were putting him in a lot of situations, which to me showed that they trusted him already in his playability. So he was getting points as well. He just seemed like a really eager, go-get-him kind of forward, and it really surprised me that he came out so hot in the Prospect Tournament.
And again, he was a later pick, so he was one that we didn't know too much about. I didn't know what to expect. So I agree. He seemed to be extremely eager, but also with putting him in so many different positions, I like how they were testing his versatility. Yeah. And that's something you don't want to pigeonhole a player. Some guys do have their niches, which is fine, and it suits in certain parts of the team, but you do want well-rounded players, and it seems like they were trying to place him in those situations to really adapt him. It's going to be great. He has been reassigned to his major junior club for the season, too, but this experience...
2021 draft pick, it's not any surprise. Yeah. I can't remember the last time...
He was 2020.
Are you sure? Mm-hmm. Probably 2020. Yes, actually, now that I'm thinking, I'm crazy. We have a lot to talk about.
That season was like deleted.
But to me, he was always going behind the D to get the puck. Because to me, what I hate so much is when you work so hard to get possession, and then you dump the puck and do a line change.
Because by the time you get possession, you have to change.
And then the teams we were playing were not giving us any leeway. So whenever we did that, we'd lose possession, of course. And to me, he would he would dump the puck, kind of, but then he'd go behind the D and he'd get it. And he was just very physical against the boards as much as he could be. He still needs to gain weight,
right?
Which we can all understand.
Right.
But
he's tall, too. He's got a good frame. And I was going to say the physicality part of it, he did seem to get,
he wasn't
as the
afraid
games
of
progressed, he seemed to get a little bit more bold with that,
I think he was getting more confidence because you never know what you're going to get into.
First game's a little shaky.
Yeah, like, you don't know any of these guys.
Yeah.
You've been playing together for, 2 days? Yeah. And you're out on the ice trying to win a game.
You're all competition, essentially, too.
Yeah, you're trying to get noticed. So the next guy Rachel could talk about is Kirill Tyutyayev.
He's one that I don't think anyone was expecting what they saw. And I was absolutely thrilled to be able to see him. He was a 2019 already?
I think so.
A 2019 pick. So it's been some time, and he's been kind of floating around in the KHL and with Belarus.
Yeah.
So we finally got him over. He's assigned with the Griffins for this next 3 seasons.
Super exciting.
Super pumped. He's a little guy, 145, 5'10", so he's not super huge. But what was really cool and what I love about the Russian style is the finesse. And that's
Russian style.
It's the Russian style. But just the way that he used his body and his feet and his puck handling, it was more than what I was expecting. And I think people were shocked at how good this kid actually is. His first game, he had 2 goals.
Yeah.
So he really came out guns blazing, and it showed to me he's 21. He's really, really trying to prove he's ready for the pros. And I think this year in Grand Rapids is going to be huge for him, and I think he'll be easily a fan favorite.
Yeah, on a side note, the size does matter. It was pretty evident because we were playing some bigger guys. He was on lines with bigger guys against bigger guys, and it was kind of evident he could kind of get thrown off the puck just by a hit.
Up.
It doesn't throw him off. So that's the characteristic I think that's important. If you're a smaller guy and you're going to get pushed around before you get bigger, if you let that affect you, you're a worse player for it. Right. But if you, like Kirill, he just got up, he just kept doing it. Yeah. He has his eye on the prize, and he's not thrown off taking chances or making plays.
Yeah, he's tenacious. And you're absolutely right. Like, as he's building up the weight, 145 is tiny.
It's small.
So he's very slight.
It's me playing his position.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're stacked.
But
for a hockey player, you're not.
And I'm a woman, so.
Exactly.
It's a little different.
It's different. But I think once he starts getting into, especially working with Marcus, who's the head conditioning coach in Grand Rapids, that will be the goal, putting on weight for him, the muscle mass.
And we've said so many times that it does become different when you get to Grand Rapids because you have more specialized training and you have someone who's tailoring workouts to you, and you're working out with the team, you're getting better with the team. I think, and your team that you're going to be playing with. And it's not, I feel like when you're in the KHL and you've been drafted, or any other team and you've been drafted, you just can't wait to start working finely toward getting to the Red Wings.
It's not as precise. And this, with Tyutyayev, I think what was funny to me was listening to everyone try to pronounce his name. And she had
not
to
like we're pros.
No, but she had to tell me a couple times not to turn around and correct people. And just watch Russian videos, you'll learn really, really quick.
Yeah, right.
But he was really exciting. I think he's going to be really fun to watch, and just an exciting player.
Yeah,
it's not boring. He doesn't just stand there.
And like Rachel said, he will be in Grand Rapids, so that's going to be super fun to watch. Yeah. So the next one, which was a surprise to me, was Pasquale Zito, who was drafted 2021.
His dad sat the next row over.
He did, and he was very excited about everything.
Really into the game.
So one thing, in the third game is when he really stood out. Mm-hmm. That was the game that we didn't have, like Berggren, we didn't have Raymond, just because they were kind of roughed up in the games before, and you're not going to want a chance putting them in again in a prospects tournament when you want them to not be injured.
We really need them healthy.
If you're going to be roughed up, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but technically for the long run, it really isn't.
Right.
To get them roughed up,
they needed them healthy to see what training camp was.
Yeah, they needed to see these guys in training camp. So Zito really came out big in the third game that he played. He took a lot of chances. He actually got, I think, 1 or 2 goals, either 1 goal and a point,
I think it was
or like
an
assist.
Yep.
Yeah, so to me, that's what was great. He saw what needed to be done. He stood up, and he stepped up, and he took action.
I really liked who he seemed. He's incredibly fast.
Yes.
That kid is a laser. Yeah. It's like, how we were saying how Verbeek, he's
so
he's
going
to be with Grand Rapids. He's kind of like dig your head down and just launch right into everything as fast as he can. Zito's kind of the same, except his head's up. Yeah. But I was really impressed with how fast he was, and he's able to get in the zone quickly. And he did come in handy in a clinch moment. Yeah. And that's really cool to see. A player who is so fresh to the team being able to come up big like that.
And to me, that speaks to that's probably the kind of player he is then.
Right.
And I love players like that. Come up big when it's super important and do the work, the hard work when you need to, when you're not noticed to. That's great. And he'll be with a major junior club as well.
Yep.
Again, not a surprise like with the other 3 are the other 2 that we had sent.
I'm so glad we have notes today.
Again, the computer's down here, so if you're seeing us looking down, that's what it is. And buckle up again because it's still a long video. So why don't you talk about Raymond?
Lucas Raymond. Everyone, I think, was expecting a great deal from him, and I think he did deliver. Like Janae said, he did get a little roughed up, so he sat out, was it 2 games? So he played in the first? Or
I feel like it was 1 or 2. I can't remember. It was
Either
like 2
way,
weeks ago
he
now.
didn't play in all of them. They he didn't have an injury. They were just setting him aside a little bit as a precaution. But
I think it was 1 game he sat out. I don't think it was 2.
What I will say is that he is deserving of the hype in regards to his shot, his skill, his technique.
We saw he probably had 4 goals in this prospect tournament, and each one was like this. Like you picked
a
that
corner like this big.
Like you picked that, and that's so much fun to watch in hockey to me.
Yeah, and he was really exciting, and I was pumped to see him because again we only have SHL video to go off of, so seeing it in person is different, guys. So go to the games if you can this season. But he definitely measured up to the hype. I think he does need time in the AHL. He's not going to be Detroit. So
I do think he needs time. I would think at least. I mean, if he does really well in 1 season, it could be 1, it could be 2. Who knows? But I do think he needs time.
Their future's entirely up to them and how they perform.
He is a mature player. Yeah. He seems to have his emotions in check. He doesn't seem to get rattled, which is really important because a lot of the time, goon-type teams are going to want to just rattle the good players.
We're not going to name names, but one of them was a goon team.
I'm just saying. But they're going to try rattle you emotionally and physically, and if you don't let that happen, then you're better off because then that's one thing that you take away from them being able to play better in. So
it's that mental fortitude that they need.
Yeah, we saw a lot of he's better than Veleno comments. No, not yet.
We're just going to stop that. If you want to subscribe, do it now. If not, then I'm sorry if this killed it for you.
Not yet, and we're not saying that. And they have different play styles, first of all. So it's hard to even compare the two. But as far as maturity, Veleno it shows he's been over here longer. Right. Shows he's been working with the team longer. He has a different
mindset, I think.
I think he's pretty easily ready NHL.
We'll get to that.
Where I'm just putting it there.
Teaser.
Raymond's really good. We're not saying he's not, but he's also not the same caliber right now as Veleno.
Right.
So
we're gonna lay that to rest right there.
So we're gonna move on too. So let's talk about Cosa a little bit.
Sebastian Cosa, he was just drafted this season, signed him to a 3-year ELC, and so that to us kind of tipped us off okay, this kid must be amazing, which he is. He only played 1 game, so out of the 3, we had tested 3 different goaltenders, so it's a 1-game sample size. He was a little shaky. He needed some time, and I think that maybe the shakiness just kind of got to him during the game. He did seem to get better as the game progressed. He's got a lot of really good foundational pieces, but what we always say and what anyone will tell you, goalies take time. And so he will be, even with the 3-year ELC, he's been reassigned to his major junior club. That ELC does not take effect until he gets to Grand Rapids.
Right.
So I think maybe another season or 2, they'll pull him over, see what they can do.
Yeah.
But I really liked his demeanor.
Yeah.
He did not lose himself emotionally. The game was a bit of a beatdown. The D was kind of failing in it, so it wasn't entirely on him.
That's another thing. You have to be able to recognize when it's the goalie and when it's the D. And it was, I would say probably 75-30. Nah. 60-40.
60-40, yeah.
So 40% D, 60% goaltending.
Yeah. But even then, you got 40% of your D not doing what they should be doing. It was a tough game, very tough team.
That can rattle you too. And what I saw is he's very conversational. Not as far as hey, let's chat during the game, but more like telling him where either there's an opening or where he sees a guy communicating, and that's something that's very important as a goaltender.
Exactly. Well, and you imagine too, from a goaltender, you see the play coming differently than the guys following behind.
So if he can bring any sort of light to what's going on, or maybe something that the D didn't see because they're just so focused. But maybe there's that. But in any case, he'll be going to a major junior club. Yep. He did well, I think. He needs to get more comfortable. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. Again, not a surprise.
This game was a drop in the bucket. I think he's got a lot of
potential. It's hard to see in 1 game.
Yeah.
It could have been he could have felt like it was one of his worst showings.
Maybe he felt like crap and didn't sleep the night before.
Maybe he was just so jazzed up about everything going on, and hey, I'm in a Red Wings uniform.
Yeah,
because that's pretty awesome.
That's exciting.
Jonatan Berggren is the next one. He was drafted a little while ago. We've talked about him quite a few times, so if you want to go look back at those videos.
I believe he was 2019 too.
So he played 1 game and he was removed for the other games. He went out early. I think he went out early in the second game and he didn't come back, and everybody was freaking out thinking he was injured. He's not injured, so my guess is that they didn't want him rattled.
Right. They said it was a minor upper body, but he was left off the ice for the next game as a precaution.
And why not? Again, it's a fun tournament, but it's not worth injuring yourself, especially if maybe you're prone to it. Who knows? It's just up to the coaching, and it's up to the guy too. So He played one game, but in the game that we saw, played really well. His playmaking is great. I'm excited to see him. We don't know where he's going yet. I'm assuming Grand Rapids.
Probably Grand Rapids.
I'm assuming Grand Rapids. I'm hoping, because that would be awesome. This would be
We got to get
awesome.
our Swedish jerseys on order.
Right? So is there any other standouts from Berggren that you thought?
Berggren, I really liked, again, his demeanor.
Him and Raymond play really well together.
Yes. It's almost like they're countrymen.
You could just tell that they were used to each other on the same line. You could just tell. It was very... Yeah, you're going to be here. Oh, he was there.
Yeah. They communicated well, too. I do like the fact that Berggren also seemed to communicate well with his line mates and his teammates. He was actually pretty vocal on the bench, too. I do like to watch the bench to see how these guys are interacting with each other, and he was pretty involved and vocal, which is nice to see. Not in like a chirping sort of way, but talking to his guys when it's time to change, checking in on them, that kind of thing. I think that shows some underlying leadership qualities.
Yeah, for sure. And then Alex Cotton is a guy that we had drafted. Again, can't remember the year. We are prepared, just I guess not with this.
You should see these notes.
Yeah. So he's a big defenseman, and that's something that we, of course, need. Those are the holes that Yzerman's looking to fill, is D and goaltending. And he, I think, is going to be a really good asset to us in the future. I'm guessing he's going to be Grand Rapids, not Red Wings. I'm going to guess he's going to be GR. It'd be exciting. It'd be exciting to see him in GR. Yeah. What I liked about him, he had good decisions. Yeah. He would make a play when he could.
I'm literally replaying the plays in my head.
He knew how to read a puck, which is, of course, important in any position in hockey.
You at least know where to find it.
He didn't cholo everywhere, if you get what I'm saying. But I think he had good puck protection and zone protection, and for a defenseman, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, that's huge. And he's got the big body. Again, to have the skill and the body, he was a little slow. His skating needs work.
Of course.
And with all of these guys, and we always say, too, the bigger bodies, sometimes they're a little clunky. He was a little clunky and heavy on his feet, but hey, if Michael Rasmussen can get better at skating, so can Alex Cotton.
And he did. And I don't know. I really liked his showing, Alex Cotton, and he got an invite, of course, to training camp as well. So
with all of these guys, I thought they played in years past. I have never seen this much
tenacity.
Tenacity, yeah.
It's like
the whole team was just pushing each other.
They all knew. They all knew what's at stake. They know that right now it's a big moving year, and they know that there's a lot of positions.
Now or never for some of them.
Yeah. So that's kind of the wraparound of the newbies, like the ones that really stood out to us. We probably missed some. There was a guy named T-Bone Cod,
he's actually still with the camp right now.
And you know what? He actually did well, but he's not on our notes, so we're going to move on. Yeah. So next we're going to talk about the vets, if you will. So the guys who aren't newer draft picks, the ones that we've been watching. So Joe Veleno, let's talk about him first.
So Joe Veleno was one.
What else do you need to do? Let's move on.
That's it. Next one. So he was incredible. I thought he was great his first season. He spent this last season over in Europe. Obviously had some really good ice time. They literally put him out on the ice. I don't remember seeing a shift he was not on the ice.
I wrote down here, does everything.
That sums it up, really.
He really does.
Yeah, special teams, he was on both the power play and the penalty kill. He was absolutely everywhere. He
never looks tired.
That center lane, that's his jam.
He never looks tired.
No, and that man's conditioning is just on par.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and we said it too when he first got drafted, and up until now when we saw him in Grand Rapids, he plays like he's been in the league for years.
Yep.
And now he's officially playing beyond it.
Yeah.
So I would say we're in agreement. There's a very good chance Detroit could have him.
I think if he performs well in preseason, which I'm assuming he will because he's Veleno and he just does, I don't think that he'll be back with GR. No. If he is, it'll be for a short time while they figure out where they want him for sure, or where pieces are going. Yeah. So I think that Veleno has a pretty good shot. I think he did fantastic in the Prospects Tournament. You could tell. We always say that you're supposed to play like you don't belong, and he did.
He did not belong there.
He's a mature hockey player who deserves NHL.
And he was some of the guys' Uber too because they didn't have cars. So.
Which is great, because he's so old. So the next guy would be Victor Brattstrom. It's so good to see some new goaltending. It was amazing to see 3 new goalies in the Prospects Tournament because usually we don't. So Victor Brattstrom was 2018, 19?
He was, golly.
We drafted him, and he's from Sweden.
He's 24 now, so it was actually several years ago.
In my opinion, he was the best of the 3 goalies that we saw, which is not surprising considering he has been in the system longer, has more play experience, has more adult play experience, if you will.
He is a veteran.
Yeah, he would what we would consider a veteran. So he was kind of shaky in the beginning of the first period. Throughout the game, though, you couldn't tell. It was the best game. I think the only game we won. And he had good movement, and he just seemed to really play the puck well. He didn't overplay it.
Right. I think one thing when he was initially drafted, something that stood out to everybody was his athleticism. So what that means is just his ability to recover and move side to side, his lateral movement. We did notice, too, the way that he puts himself against the post. And even, like, those super, super minor details that some of the younger goalies are still working on. He had really good awareness of his body in relation to the net, the crease, and the guys in the puck, and all of that. So, and like Janae said, he did not overplay. He was Bednar and Cosa, tried the around the net trapezoid thing, and Brattstrom, he did, but it was calculated, and I don't think he overextended himself. So I thought he made a very good showing, and it's gonna be great to see. He'll be in Grand Rapids.
He'll be GR, and I'm so excited to see him in tandem with probably Calvin Pickard. So that'll be really great. So next would be Donovan Sebrango. First game for him. He was on the Griffins last season. That's because he wasn't able to fulfill his OHL contract because the OHL in the silly season was shut down. So he was with us last year. So I expected to see the maturity of being able to play a season, albeit short, with an AHL club. He didn't come out super impressive, but he did get better. He played all 3 games, and he did get better in his showing, and he was able to tailor the things that he made mistakes on in the first game, because there were quite a few, and he really minimize those mistakes in the next couple games.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little minor details too, and as they work out their development, everything that will get worked out, and one of them was the passing awareness. That was something he did get better over the games and over each period, where the passes, some of them were way too ridiculously hard.
Then it might have also to do with who's receiving the pass, not expecting.
Very true.
Not knowing how he passes because they are all new.
The pressure of the situation, and there's a lot of factors that go into it, but he did seem to get a little bit more relaxed and calculated, and I think that too, the first game, it's always a little shaky. You're going to see it in the AHL too.
Yeah.
The first few games are going to be working off and shaking off
all
the
I saw from Sebrango is that he does need some more vet help, so being in GR with, some good veteran leadership.
Probably Lashoff, I would imagine, or Renault.
We're getting some good vet Ds. Unfortunately, Joe Hicketts won't be there, which is still sad to me, and McElrath won't be there.
Anyway.
Next will probably be Jared McIsaac, which we were super, super excited to see him in finally a healthy season. Until, of course, he got wheeled off in the 3rd game after a bat hit, which was, of course, awful to see. Because he was doing very well. He also was improving game by game.
Yes.
I don't think he super impressed me in the first one, but by the time the second one came around, he had worked everything out.
Because we saw him a little bit in Grand Rapids, too. And that in Grand Rapids, I wasn't blown away. There were some areas of concern, so to see him grow so much over the summer.
Yeah, and last year there was quite a bit of movement at least.
There was. I don't think anyone could really settle in.
Yeah, and I think that hopefully if he's healthy and hopefully if he can play, we'll see him in Grand Rapids, and I think it's only up from here. Honestly, I do think he will be.
Once he gets better.
And he has the tenacity, too. He's been injured twice, and he's gotten through it twice, and he's still in the AHL, and he can still play up to the caliber that he needs to. So as long as he can keep that up, I don't think he'll be knocked down for long.
That was something, too, I did notice in the first game and a half that he did play before he got taken off. It was horrible. So all the best.
It was so awful.
I hate hearing a crowd go that silent so fast.
And then of course everyone's just violent against the refs, and then you're like, should we get out of here?
Is it going to riot? Hockey fans, you just don't know.
What the ref do? The ref called it. The guy got a game misconduct, and then you don't like to look at that because you're like, man, the guy probably didn't mean to. If he did, he should probably go to jail.
I think Tom Wilson might be the only headhunter that does it on purpose.
Hot take.
That's for the end.
Well, let's move on to Bednar.
Yes.
So talk about that.
It's already going to be a long one.
I know.
There's so much to cover.
There is so much to cover.
So Jan Bednar was just drafted this last season. Okay, so fresh legs. He is a goaltender. He was another one kind of like Cosa. He was a little shaky. I think it was his first game in the U.S. as well. He's from the Czech Republic. Has been playing over in Europe. So I'm pretty sure it was. And if that's the case, I thought he did well. Yeah. And again, the D dropped in front of him in some critical situations. Some of the goals were like, okay, that's like the same 3 I've seen. So we should probably work on that.
Yeah, but then again, if you see a consistent goal that's being let go, I don't know if it's easier for the goaltending coach to be like, oh, hey, let's work on that.
Or if it's like, hey, that D-man needs to protect that.
I would say he was probably second next to Brattstrom.
Yes. Yep.
So I would say it probably went Brattstrom, Bednar, and then Cosa and play how they did in the game. But again, one game is hard to tell. And that's probably not all we're going to see from him. So he's going to do his major junior club is where he'll be.
And the team got a little shaken up because that was the game that McIsaac got injured.
Oh, man.
I mean, that messes with your head.
Sure does. And it could go one of 2 ways. You could, kill the opponent in shots and, when
our bench was looking real thin.
It was, and we were getting mad.
Yes.
So let's talk about let's talk about our standout players in all of this. So I know it's allowed. We're gonna hopefully timestamp things beneath. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe.
66% of you don't. I'm offended. Come on.
Let's talk about your standout. Who was your standout player in all of this?
Yes.
And this isn't to say that there weren't other people who were also impressive.
And it's not to say they were the best of the whole tournament. Oscar Plandowski was the one I was most impressed and most shocked by. The other guys, I had expectations, and I think they met or exceeded them. Plandowski, I didn't have too much of an expectation.
I think because we already talked about him. Go back. This was the first guy we talked about. So look at her reasons.
So Plandowski is my standout for the tournament.
And mine is probably Cross Hanas. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to see these two come up. And I hope that they don't get traded randomly. And I hope that they really do well this year in the clubs.
Stop breaking our hearts.
I'd like to see these guys. I'm pretty excited for them. So, like we said, goalie overview, we probably agree. It goes Brattstrom, Bednar, Cosa. Mm-hmm. So, most mature was probably Brattstrom as far as like play style. And that's expected. I'm glad we saw that.
Yes.
I'm glad we saw that the time that he's had has worked.
Yep. He used it well.
Yes.
And so him with Pickard in Grand Rapids, because Nagel has moved on, so best of luck to you, Pat Nagel.
Congratulations on your new team.
Yes, you're fantastic.
We're going to miss you.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
So then after that would probably be Bednar and then Cosa. And those two, of course, they're going to need time. Yep. And that's what they're going to get.
To be excited about.
Another thing we saw.
We are bitter about this one.
We saw in a Toronto jersey, of all things, Keith Petruzzelli. Who chose to go to Toronto after he was on, waivers?
He decided
free agency.
Yeah, so word is Detroit wanted him to do another season in college.
I wanted him to do another season
then to come to Grand Rapids, and he decided to test free agency, and now he's with Toronto.
And he's going to be a thorn in our side.
Can
you hear me? A thorn in our side.
He was really good.
Yeah, he's really good, and he did well in his game.
I feel like whispering makes
he does a stacked pad save, guys. Like,
who does that?
He does, and I wanted it, but
best of luck to you, Keith.
So then there's some. We're gonna wrap up this hugely long video.
Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far,
thank you, Dad, for editing all this.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about some team drama. Not so much like it's dramatic because of the team. It's dramatic because of everyone.
Social media
and who talks about it, and it really shouldn't be drama. Mm-hmm. So, but we're just going to cover it because I think it's important.
It is important. It impacts our team.
First would be Tyler Bertuzzi, and we're just going to say we agree with Steve Yzerman's stance that he should be able to make his own choice.
There we go.
And he did.
Stop burning him at the stake.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Seriously.
So I really hope he has a breakout year.
Yeah.
I super hope so.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
And he's got a kid on the way. It should be a big year for him.
Yeah. So congratulations, Bertuzzi, on a kid. If you ever see this, we support you.
Gilbert.
Next would be Moritz Seider. Everyone is just
worshipping the ground he walks on.
It's like the Zadina train. You all remember the Zadina train.
We were always Team Veleno.
Well, we like Zadina.
Yeah.
I really want him to do well.
Yes.
But we've always been like, hey, Veleno, I think, has a star power, a star factor, I guess.
He's like Captain America in a Red Wings uniform.
Who's also Canadian.
Gross.
But
Captain
Seider,
Canada.
Not to say we love Seider. Seider's super great, and he's a great defenseman. I do think that his status is a little unknown. Mm-hmm. If he does well in preseason, he might stay with the Red Wings, but I expect him to do well in preseason.
Right.
I will say I don't know where he'll go. I don't know if he'll stay Red Wing. I don't know if he'll go GR.
Yep.
But nothing is certain, and he hasn't officially made the team at this point of filming.
Yes.
And of course, preseason.
People have every right to be excited. We're not saying don't be exciter. But he's an incredible defenseman. Yes. He did very well with Rogel in Germany last year.
I do think he needs to mature.
He needs to mature more. And the fact that everyone's freaking out with Cronwall working, it's Cronwall's job.
It's his job
to work with defensemen, guys. Like, that's how that works. So get excited.
Yes.
But there's a good chance he'll be Grand Rapids. He might do the Detroit 10-game thing to figure out if he fits or not. Yzerman's not going to put him somewhere where he's not going to get the minutes, guys.
And, I mean, he's a good D, but, like, I don't know. Like, why would you make him alternate right now? I guess I don't know. Yeah. Okay, guys? So
just give it time. Let's see how this plays out. No one knows what's going on in his team's head. That's just our opinion, I guess.
Yeah. And you know what? So excited for Seider as well.
Absolutely. He's amazing.
A good D, man. Like, someone who can be trusted to grow with
those
the team.
elbows in line, buddy.
Yeah, right. Work on keeping yourself together. Next would be Lucas Raymond, which we kind of talked about earlier, but what we've been seeing everywhere and the social media and everything is that he's like,
it's almost like a Raymond cult.
It's like it's kind of the same thing as the Cider thing. We don't want to minimize what they've done.
Absolutely
they are both amazing players, and I'm so excited to see them do good.
There is reason to be pumped.
To do well. That's the correct grammar.
Yes.
He'll probably do preseason with Detroit. We still expect him to be GR. It's unknown right now, but I'm thinking that he still needs time in GR. He is super good.
Yeah.
All that to say, we're just really excited about this coming season, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch whomever's in GR and whoever's in Detroit. I think it's only up from here, and we've all known it's going to be a process, and this is just a part of that process. So let us know in the comments what you think about our opinions of the vets and the
nice comments only, please.
And the newbies. Yeah, whatever. And then I guess just let us know anything you want to say. If you saw the prospect tournament, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and your thoughts on any of these guys. And if you agree or disagree, we'd love to hear it. And hello to all of our European friends who watch in Germany and
Sweden.
It's just exciting to know that
number in Canada.
Technology is crazy.
It is.
That you can just reach so many people with just a video. So we'd love to do it. So just let us know if you have any specific questions. We'd love to try answer them for you. Right. So we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much again for watching. Subscribe and like if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.